Dr. Jamie Gruman is an associate professor in the Department of Business at the University of Guelph and a recent speaker at a Strategic Capability Network event in Toronto. He sat down with Canadian HR Reporter TV to talk about complexity leadership and emergent change. What do you mean by the term complexity leadership, and why is it such an important concept?
Complexity leadership is an approach to leadership that builds on recent developments in complexity science, complex adaptive systems, quantum physics, and it's about creating the conditions that are necessary for an organization to be successful. And the reason it's important is because in today's very highly competitive, fast-paced environment, old-style approaches to leadership aren't effective. Research shows us that they're not effective. And so we need a new paradigm, a new way for leaders to be effective, and this is the approach.
How does an emergent approach to change compare with more traditional ideas about change?
The emergent approach to change compares with the traditional or planned approach to change in that the planned approach is a very linear, a very formulaic, a very leadership-driven approach, whereas the emergent approach is much more fluid, it's much more adaptive, it's about creating the conditions for change to emerge on its own, as opposed to making or forcing those conditions or forcing those changes to develop.
You said small forces can have major impacts. As business leaders, why is this such an important consideration?
So small changes, like planting an idea in somebody's head one day, can, in the end, it could be 2, 3 months or years down the road, can have major impacts. And the reason that's important is because we need to be constantly adapting, constantly moving, constantly changing how we do things, adapting to the changing environment. And so by planting seeds here and planting seeds there, and then giving people the chance to experiment with ideas, you end up creating conditions for changes that are really important and valuable and profitable to take hold.
How do we need to change the way that we think about leadership behaviors?
Well, I think the way we need to change the way we think about leadership behaviors is to complement the traditional command and control style of leadership with a more adaptive way of thinking about leadership. It's the difference between being a mechanic versus being a gardener. So the traditional way we think about leadership is as we're in charge, we change this part, we make the organization function more effectively. But when we understand that an organization is an entity and it grows and it develops, then we begin to understand that the metaphor for effective leadership is maybe much more like gardening, where you do what you can, you fertilize your plants, you plant the seeds, but then you create the conditions that are going to make the organization successful.
Why do organizations need to focus on the communities they're a part of instead of just the bottom line?
Yeah, the era of focusing exclusively on the bottom line, I believe, is over. We've experimented with being singularly focused on making money, and it has damaged our air, it has damaged our earth, it has damaged our waterways, and I think it's damaged us as individuals. I think it's made us small. I think it's made us monsters, and I think we need to focus on not excluding, no longer thinking about making money. Cash is the oxygen of an organization. But in addition to that, understanding how our organizations contribute to the community, and not just contribute to the bottom line. And I think these are the organizations of the future that we should be striving for.